Go. Hi, good afternoon. Kathy DeMatteis here. I am coming to you from my home in Newark, Delaware. I'm in my office right now. And I was working on a client this morning, and I had given her my little advertisement for the book that I have coming out, My Journey to the Center of Love. She asked me about my tagline. What I wrote in my tagline was how I learned how to love myself without losing my husband. She wanted to know what that meant. And, as I was going through this process to find myself, I managed to not lose my husband. And what that meant was, how many of you out there know somebody who has gone through a midlife crisis and they left their spouse? They left their kids, they left their house, they buy a Porsche, and they shack up with a 21-year-old. That happens a lot. So what I meant by that was how I managed to, because the person that my husband married 15 years ago was not really, the person that I was. That person has been hiding, for a long, long time. I mean, he had hints of me, and in all reality, he knew I was psychic. We knew that. We talked about that from the get-go. But I really didn't come out to the world with it. I didn't, put my white flag out to the world and say who I am. And to go from somebody who was relatively quiet to actually, going back out to the world and saying, "Hey, I'm here," was a very, very big thing. And I was very aware of how that could affect a marriage, especially considering that I've seen so many divorces happen, so many things happening, in these last years as people were shifting and coming into their own. I think in all reality, maybe 5 or 6 people on my Facebook page like this last year got divorces that I thought were rock solid marriages, that looked, from all appearances, looked like rock solid marriages. And I remember going to a class. I was at a mentoring class, a coach class last year, and I remember being in a room full of women who were divorced, and I came home from that, listening, like I was listening to how they were all saying that they were, that they were finding themselves, and, and that their power has been coming out. But every one of those women went through a divorce. Every one of them. I think there was one getting ready to get married. So she went through her shift prior to her getting married. But everybody else was pretty much, divorced. And I was nervous about that. I was very nervous about that because I loved my husband. And the last thing that I wanted was literally to lose my husband over me shifting to my higher self. And so when I said how I managed to find and love myself without losing my husband, was because we put this program, we doubled our efforts to keep our marriage together. So, because there was a dream, like we had a goal. And I want to go to I'm on chapter 5 in my book, which I titled, "This is the House That Love Built." And in this chapter, I happened to be in esthetician school during this time of my life. I'd been a massage therapist for a few years, and I was in esthetician school. And I wanted, excuse me, I wanted it was at the end of the program, and I had completed all my assignments, and a deal was made that I write an essay because I was done. All my assignments were done, all my classes were done, and I was really going in there every night just sitting, reading a book. And the owner, had me write a paper, and it was what my future business was going to look like. So this is what I wrote. This is on page 37 in my book. A two-story camp with over 6,000 square feet, large floor-to-ceiling windows that span the front of the house that overlooks the lake, a green roof made of steel with cedar-shaped clapboards, and a hand-carved sign over the front of the house. The living room is located on the main floor of the home. The fireplace sits in the middle, flanked with natural stone and rising from the floor through the ceilings to the second floor. That was a house that I built, like this imaginary place that at the time I was married to somebody else. And I knew my marriage was dissolving. It had been dissolving, which was the reason why I went to massage school to begin with, is I needed to find a way to take care of myself and my 3 children. I was, and it's funny because like this has been, oh my gosh, well, I've been a massage therapist for 20 years, so pretty much 23 years ago. Like, I mean, I knew I made a mistake. I knew when I married my first husband that he was to be the father of my children. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh my God, that's the father of my children. I didn't say that's the love of my life, but I knew I was to have children with him. For whatever reason, he was who I was supposed to have children with. And it wasn't until I met Conrad and I felt Conrad in that embrace that day that I felt something completely different from what I had ever felt with any other man in my life. And I think it's fair to say that I fell in love with my husband on that day, that very first day that I ever met him, which was well before I went to massage school, well before I was in this esthetician school, well before I wrote this paper. And by the time I was writing this paper, I was already dreaming of a life with Conrad. I was already imagining it in my mind. So I wrote the paper on the dream life that I was going to have with him. And as funny as it seems, at that particular time, I was married to somebody else. It seemed dauntingly impossible that I was going to be able to get out of that marriage and be able to support my children and myself. But you know what? I did. I was able to support myself and my children. I did make enough money to be able to do it. I made enough money to be able to afford my apartment. And I remember that Christmas. I remember, I was very worried about, was I going to be able to give to my children what my husband and I had given in the previous years, because I did not have his income to fall back on. But I set an intention that I was going to do exactly what I had always done, and I was not going to allow that shift of income to affect what I had always done. And I wrote a list of what I wanted to get for my kids, and I did it. And I remember Christmas Eve, after my kids were in bed, and I remember putting the lights on the tree and making myself a cup of tea and sitting there and talking to God and thanking Him because I did it. It somehow happened. I pulled it off. I was able to do it. The thing that, like when he told me that I would not be able to do it, I took those words and I proved him wrong. And I do that all the time. Every time somebody tells me that I can't do something, I rise up and tell them, yes, I can, and I will do it. And I've oftentimes, I remember this one particular person I did a reading for. And I remembered, I knew what I said to her, but I didn't say it to her for her to fail or that I didn't believe in her. I said it to her because I knew she would prove me wrong. And I've been watching her. And I know she's struggling. She's got 2 little boys and, she's having a hard time, but she's doing it. And she's making it each day. And I hope she can see herself in this and recognize herself. That when I said that to her, you should wait till your boys are grown. I didn't say it to her to put her down. I said it to her so that she would fight harder. Because I know for me, and many times, this has been a hard fight. Raising, when I took care of my children all by myself, that was a big accomplishment. I took care of me plus my 3 kids. So I'm obviously a powerful woman because I did that. So what is it about life now? My children are raised. What is it now that defeats me, that makes me believe I can't do something? Well, when I had my children, I had people depending upon me. I couldn't fail. Now, it's just me. Can I fail me? Well, of course I could fail me. I see people living in cars all the time failing themselves. Do I want to fail me? Oh, hell no. No. And there's this, Madonna has been an artist for me that I resonate very much with. And I honestly think it's time for me to plug some Madonna in and listen to some Madonna, because that one song, Living in a Material World, we're living in a material world. I have no choice. I was born into it. I need a car to get around. I need a house to live in. I need my heater to work because it gets pretty damn cold. I'm living in a material world. Why should I feel bad because I want some of those materials? So before, when I was, thinking about raising my children and what I needed to get for my children, now it's changed. And it's time for me. And why should I feel guilty? See, rubbing my nose, rubbing right here. This is an indication that I'm perceiving this as a negative. That my belief system says that if I want something for myself, that is a bad thought. So when I touch myself here, when I say that, I'm giving an indication to you that it's a negative, that I was like, oh, wanting something for myself, that's negative. Oh, this means I'm materialistic. Oh my gosh, I'm bad for being materialistic. Excuse me? Do you not live in a house? Do you not drive a car? Do you not want to the grocery store and get food? Do you want lobster this week? Yes, I could eat chicken at 79 cents a pound, but I want lobster at $9.99 a pound. Why is that bad? It's not. It's just somebody likes to tell you that it is. Somebody likes to place judgment on you. And like I said, I could use those words of judgment and let them get me down, or I could use them as words of empowerment to raise me up. Some days it's really, really hard, and the struggle is real to empower yourself and lift yourself back up. Some days, just like everybody else, I want to hide underneath my blankets. I want to go away. I just want to crawl into a space and hide. Maybe I should allow myself that day. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with having a pity party for yourself for the day? What's wrong with going, I need to bunker down. I need to take some time for myself. I need a day of rest so that I can come back stronger tomorrow and fight. What's wrong with that? I don't think anything is wrong with that. Sometimes you just need a break, right? I need a break. I've been going hard to do this book, to advertise this. I'm human. Who says I'm not allowed to be human? I'm allowed to be human. I'm allowed to be a human being. I'm allowed to have a day where I need to put the covers over my head and block the world out. I can't be rah, rah, rah every single day of my life. Can you? That wouldn't be genuine, would it? So I need to be genuine. I need to show that I am human, that I have days that it's just too much. World's getting to me, and I need a break, and I need to give myself a moment. There is nothing wrong with that. I want you to be kind to yourself today. Mostly I say that because I want to be kind to me. So if I say it to you, it's going to vibrate back to me. I want to feel love, and I want you to feel love, and I want you to feel empowered. I want you to know we're all in this together. We can do this. We can rise and meet the demands of the world and embrace the world. You guys have a great day. Have a good one. Bye.